What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Lutties-lookback. My name is Nick Luttrell. It is finally and beautifully game week for all of our college football and high school teams in the great state of Arkansas. On today's show, I'll be answering all of your questions that you have that you want to know heading into the 2025 Razorback football season. I'll also tell you about some of the top 5 or so high school football games this upcoming week, because the Friday Night Blitz starts on Friday. That's very exciting. But first, we'll start my show how we always do this time of year with my 3 big things heading into Arkansas's Week 1 matchup with Alabama A&M. This is how I'm going to start my show. If you're new to the Lutties Look Back show, welcome. Thanks for being here. Stick around. Hopefully you enjoy yourself. I'll be having my 3 big things after every Arkansas football game. What were my 3 big takeaways? Now, of course, there was an Arkansas football game. There was not one this past weekend, but there will be this upcoming weekend. So I know my show is called Lutties Look Back, but if you've been watching this show for the past 2 months, it's been really just looking ahead for Saturday, for the Arkansas football, for their season to begin. You see the 3 big things behind me, what I want to see out of this game on Saturday. Don't let Alabama A&M think they have a chance. Dominate from the get-go. Mike Washington Jr., he better have a 50-plus yard touchdown run, because we've been hearing about that all offseason. And the defensive line, I want to see some pressure. I want to see you sack the quarterback. I want to see you rush the quarterback. Let's go back up to the top 1. You can't let Alabama A&M even close into this game. Now, let me be honest. I don't know a ton about Alabama A&M. There's a few things that I do know. Last year, they lost to Auburn in Week 1 by about 70. Auburn won 5 games last year, maybe 4. They weren't that good. They're playing Arkansas this year. Arkansas is better than Auburn was last year. Sure, Alabama A&M may be a little bit better, but Arkansas should win this game easily. Alabama A&M also plays in the same conference as UAPB, Arkansas Pine Bluff. UAPB fans, you might want to close your ears for this one. UAPB is not very good at football. They're not the best. Is their program going in the right direction? Yes, they are getting better. But when you put them up against a program like Arkansas is going to dominate every single year. That's just how it is. Now, in their conference, UAPB is getting better, so don't get mad at me, UAPB fans. But they're not very good when you put them up against an SEC team. Alabama A&M, UAPB, they're both in the same conference. Alabama A&M is better than UAPB, but still, they should not stand a chance against the Razorbacks. This game should not be close. So Arkansas, don't make it close. From the get-go, dominate this game, score early and score often. Go up 21, 28 to nothing at the end of the first quarter. That's the numbers I want to see, because I know this offense is good. I know they have that potential. Now show it to me in the first quarter, and then let's see KJ Jackson get out there for a little bit. Let's see Grayson Wilson. Let's see Trevor Jackson. Let's see AJ Green get back out there. Let's see Cam Settles play. Wouldn't those things be cool? Wouldn't it be cool if we saw Grayson Wilson handing the ball off to Cam Settles in an Arkansas football game on Saturday? 2 local kids, one played for Conway, another played for Parkview. How cool would that be, right? I want to see that, and that starts with starting the game well and dominating from the get-go against Alabama A&M. That's my first big thing. My second is Mike Washington Jr., RB1, the guy who we've heard all season long is going to be that guy for Arkansas in the backfield. You got Taylon Green. We know his potential. We know how he can kind of run with the ball like this at times and fumble, right? We don't know much about Mike Washington Jr. We know what we know out of fall camp, but really, is that much? No. That's just picking at straws of little things that we've seen throughout practice or heard with this and that, right? But what we have heard out of him, it's very small sample size. It's with some spring practices and some fall practices. It's that he's going to be really good. It's that he's going to be one of the best running backs Arkansas has had in recent years. Now, I would love to see him live up to that potential. I'm not sure if he's going to, but against Alabama A&M, he should. When you look at the game last year when Arkansas played a team from the SWAC, UAPB, Jaquinta Jackson, the running back last year, who we didn't know much about, but we have high potential for, who ended up being pretty good. He averaged 12 yards a carry against UAPB. I think he had 2 touchdowns, 8 carries, over 100 yards rushing. He dominated that game. Arkansas dominated that game. I don't expect the same dominating fashion that I saw last year with Arkansas and UAPB, but I want it to be close. And the thing we've heard over and over again is that Washington can break off some big runs. So I want to see him, first or second drive, take the ball 75 yards for a touchdown. Like, how cool would that be on the first drive of the game? 50-yard touchdown. I want to see it happen because we've been hearing about it in practice. Now, if you can't break off a long touchdown against a SWAC team like Alabama A&M, you're never going to be able to do it against any other team that Arkansas plays, because this will be far and away the worst team that Arkansas plays this season. So I know they're going to improve as the season goes on. So as a team, they're going to be better in Week 10 as opposed to Week 1. But I want to see them dominate this game. I want to see Mike Washington Jr. have himself a 50-plus yard touchdown run. That would be cool, because then I'm going to clip this part and I'm going to show it to you next week and be like, hey, look at that. That happened, and that was so cool, right? Hopefully that happens. That's big point number 2. Big point number 3 is the defensive line. Let's move to the defensive side of the ball. They got to pressure the quarterback. That's been one of the biggest question marks in fall camp heading into the season. Can the defensive line, we know the depth issues. We'll talk about that later in the show. Can the defensive line live up to the standard that they need to be for an SEC defensive line? Again, when you're an SEC defensive line playing against a SWAC offensive line, that quarterback should be running for his life. That D-line needs to be dominating this game. Cam Ball better have a sack. He better have a few QB hurries. Everyone better stay healthy. If I had a big point number 4, it'd be to stay healthy. But hopefully all that happens, right, when I'm going to talk about injuries, right? Cam Ball better have a sack, but can other guys get involved? Transfer guys, Phillip Lee, Justin Boone, can those guys make an impact on this game early on when they play, hopefully just for just the first half? And then, what's Keyshawn Blackstock going to do, right? Those of you who aren't aware, this is an offensive lineman, projected starter in my book a few weeks ago, started to trend to a backup within the last week or two, and now he's switched sides because good offensive line depth, bad defensive line depth, and he's going to be playing defensive line now. So I wouldn't be surprised when the depth chart comes out, I guess in the next few days, or I guess today, I'm not exactly sure. When the depth chart comes out, if Keyshawn Blackstock is in a second-string defensive tackle, even though he's just been working with that position for a few weeks. Odds are he's going to play in this game as a defensive lineman because Arkansas should be up 50-7 in the fourth quarter. So you should see Keyshawn Blackstock do a new position that no one's ever seen him do. So I think that will be something notable. That's one of the things I'm looking forward to for this Alabama A&M game. Those are some of my thoughts, the 3 big things that we can look forward to for Saturday's game. Let's hear what offensive lineman Caden Kittler and defensive end Quincy Rhodes have to say about the excitement of playing some football back in Razorback Stadium.
I'm excited to see what the atmosphere is like, really. You know, I played in one SEC stadium when I was at UCF, and that was Florida, and I had the time of my life. So, you know, to do it at home, it's going to be a crazy experience, and I can't wait.
I feel like the atmosphere is going to be crazy. A lot of people have been waiting for this moment. Football season is here, so it's time to buckle up. For them Hogs to get on the road.
All right, so we are ready for Arkansas to play some football. The past few weeks I've been doing season previews, so if you've missed my offensive preview, my defensive preview, my special teams preview, my talk with John Neighbors, all of that I've done in the last few weeks. If you're on THV 11 Plus right now, you can go back and watch that. If you're on YouTube, you can go back and watch that. But today, I'm going to be answering some of your questions. I mentioned on last week's show to ask me a question about the Arkansas football season. What do you need to know? What are some question marks heading into the season? Now, I was disappointed by the results. Like, come on, I thought I had more fans out there. It's okay. But I did get a few of you, thanks to some friends that helped me out, to ask some really good questions that I want to answer for the remaining part of my 15 or 20 minutes I have left on the show. So let's go put up the first one. It's not really a question. I was hoping for more of a written question, but it's okay. Antonio Kotze, I think is how you pronounce it, Kotze. Thank you for at least giving me something. So that's good. I would have liked a little bit more than just defensive line, but that's okay. It's good. Thank you for asking the question, because I think one of the biggest question marks, as I kind of mentioned earlier, is the defensive line. What's going to happen when you have an injury? the depth is an issue. Let's pull up the depth chart that I had up. I think that's the next slide. The depth chart that I talked about, I think 2 weeks ago, or maybe it was a week ago. What I kind of see as a projected depth chart heading into this season, heading into the Alabama A&M game. Now this may change a little bit, but Phillip Lee, Ian Jafard, Cam Ball, Quincy Rhodes, I think if they played a 4-down front for defensive linemen, that's what they would play. Danny Saili, you can flip around with Ian Jafard. Justice Boone can be played a little bit as well. Those are kind of the main 6 that I think are going to be played, or that are going to be playing. You can now throw Keyshawn Blackstock on that list because he's a guy who's also going to be playing on the defensive line. As crazy as it may seem, that's what's going to happen. So again, I'm looking forward to seeing him play in this Alabama A&M game, what that's going to look like. But it all comes down to depth. Like, can Arkansas keep guys healthy? Can they make an impact? Can Cam Ball be as good as Landon Jackson was last season? The answer is he does not have the ceiling. He probably doesn't have the potential as a Jackson. But can he be to the level of what he needs to be to wreak havoc on an SEC offensive line? He's going to do it against Alabama A&M. I'm pretty confident in that. But can he do it against an LSU, against a Texas, against a Missouri, against an Auburn? Right? Some of these teams that Arkansas is going to be playing this season. Can Cam Ball be that guy? Can Quincy Rhodes take the step up that he needs to take as well to make an impact on this team? And so that was a fair question mark of the team by Antonio that he mentioned, is the defensive line. Another question that I got, if we'll go to this next slide, is from my friend Caden. He said, do you think there's any connection with Blackstock moving to defensive line and the possibility that David Oki's injury could take longer to recover from than originally planned? And the short answer to this is yes. I think, so basically what has happened, and I don't know the specific injury, obviously they don't give us specifics, but one of the guys who was supposed to be one of the better defensive linemen this season, who hasn't really risen to that level in the offseason, in the spring, in the fall that people thought he was going to be, is David Oki. He's a guy who is an Abilene Christian transfer, which I know Abilene Christian, you're probably like, that's not an amazing player. He's coming from the FCS ranks. But apparently he's supposed to be really good. And apparently he was really hyped up in the transfer portal when he came to Fayetteville. He hasn't lived up to those expectations and practices. But I think people were still high on him. People were still waiting, myself included, for him to make that jump. People were still waiting to see him play an actual team, to see him get out there. Let's see what he can do against competition in the FBS, not the FCS. Well, the issue with all this now is that he's injured, and according to Sam Pittman, he's going to miss a game or two. Now, in coach speak, I think a game or two, we've heard Sam Pittman talk enough times in my life, I think a game or two, unfortunately, means 2 to 3 games. So now you have David Oki out of the defensive line for the first few games. Not a huge deal for the first game. Not a huge deal for the game 2 against Arkansas State. But week 3, when you play Ole Miss, week 4, when you play Memphis, that's an issue. And that's when that defensive line depth becomes an issue. So I think his injury certainly hurts Arkansas. And back to Caden's question here, I think it is connected to Keyshawn Blackstock moving to defensive line. I think two things can be true. The offensive line has a lot of depth, so they can afford to take one guy out and move him somewhere else if need be. And the other thing that can be true is the defensive line is not good and does not have the depth that they need to, so they're going to pull a defensive lineman. There's two ways to look at it. It's not a good problem to have when you have to move an offensive lineman to the defensive line. I understand that. But is this a bad situation? Yes, but they're making do with what they have. It is a bad situation, but they're making do with what they have and trying to turn it into a good situation. You never know. Keyshawn Blackstock could be like, I don't know, the next Jake Beckett, the next Landon Jackson, the next, you name it, defensive lineman great. There's been a few, I guess, in Arkansas Razorback football history. I doubt it, but he could be, right? And if he ends up being that guy, that's going to be kind of crazy, but it probably won't happen. So yes, to answer your question, I think there is connection with both of those things, that injury and that movement of Blackstock to defensive line. It's good that the offensive line has depth. Another thing, Blackstock started most games last season, and he wasn't that good. So maybe it's a good thing you're throwing him on the other side of the ball. Maybe he shows potential there. Didn't look like he was going to get a starting spot on the offensive line this season either way. And shout out to him for being a team player. All right, so that's our first viewer question. The second comes from Adam Smith. Question is, what do the Hogs have to do to figure out their issues with turnovers? It's a great question. If they can fix this, do they win most of the notorious one-score games? Fair point there, Adams. It's in the Sam Pittman era, it has been a struggle to win those tight one-score games. And I think your question here, what does Arkansas have to do to figure it out? It all starts with Taylen Green, right? And I know that's a little bit of a cop-out answer with answering this question is just throwing the quarterback's name out there. But when you look at last season, obviously the offense, it all starts with the quarterback. You look at last season, Taylen Green was exceptional, right? 3,000 plus passing yards, 600 rushing yards, 12 touchdown passes, I think. I mean, Arkansas had like a top 10 offense statistically last season in total offense. The problem was the turnovers. Green, 9 interceptions, fumbled the ball 5 times. That's lost fumbles. I think he fumbled it a few more times where he got it back. There was just a lot of scary moments. There were a lot of moments where you're like, what are you doing, Taylen? Like this isn't Boise State anymore. This is Arkansas. Now, Boise State's pretty good, don't get me wrong, but this is the SEC. You can't be trying to hurdle a guy in the SEC. You can't be running around with the football out like this in the SEC. So it comes down, when you talk about turnovers, and that's the reason Arkansas lost a lot of their games last season was turnovers. It comes down to Taylen Green. He's a guy that can take them to be a college football playoff team. Wow, whoa, that's craziest. I know that's a crazy thing to say, but he's a guy that could take them there if they were to do something crazy. He's also the guy that can turn the ball over the most in the SEC and basically be the reason that Sam Pittman would be fired if Arkansas went 4-8. It's him. It's Taylen Green's team. And I think it's his time to shine, right? Because he had a good season last year, had a great season, but he turned the ball over too much. Now looking into year two with Bobby Petrino, it's his time to make that step. It's his last chance to make that step to show that he is the great quarterback that people think he is. He will live up to the tangibles that his body is. He's tall, he's lanky, he's fast, he can jump, he can throw. He's got all these measurements. Now can he take care of the ball? That's the thing that Arkansas and Taylen Green have to do well this season. And if they can fix that, they do win a lot of those one-score games. If you look at it last year, Arkansas was undefeated when they won the turnover battle. So if they turn the ball over less this season and Taylen continues to be Taylen, they'll win 8 games. They will. The reality is he's not going to be perfect. The reality is he's going to turn the ball over. The reality is he's going to fumble. He's going to throw interceptions. You just hope that mark is better than it was last year. I think that you hope that mark is better than it is last year. So hopefully those issues with the turnovers can improve. All right, let's put to our next question, once again by Caden. Which single transfer portal addition will have the biggest impact this season? Give me one on offense and one on defense. This is a tough one. I had to think about this one a little bit before I did it because I think there's 2 on offense. There's probably one that's obvious, and that's Mike Washington Jr., and that's the answer I'm really going to give you, Caden. But there's also Corey Robinson, and he's an offensive lineman, and it's hard to assess for me at least, how really good is an offensive lineman. As a unit, it's easy to see because you can measure that based on sacks and quarterback hurries and how much Taylen Green is running for his life. Sometimes he gets his own self in trouble. But I think Corey Robinson is going to be really good this season. I think, left tackle, Fernando Carmona moved to the left guard position. You got Caden Kittler at center. Those 3 on the left are going to be really good. You see Arkansas running the ball left a lot. It's for a reason because they have those 3 that are really good. Now, the right side of the line is going to be good with, I guess, Blackstock is out. Shaq McCroy, Caden Kittler is center. What's the other name I'm forgetting? Shaq McCroy and Kobe Branham. And you maybe throw in a few others there. But those are 2 guys on the right side of the line you might not go to as much. But I think Corey Robinson will be really good. I think he was one of the highest ranked transfer portal pickups that Arkansas got. He's a 4-star guy, from Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech had a pretty good rush game last season. So I think Corey Robinson will have a really big impact. It's going to be hard to statistically tell, like, what impact can an offensive lineman make. It's hard to tell. So that's why I given you two here on offense, Corey Robinson as well as Mike Washington Jr. I think that's kind of the obvious one for running back, just because of everything that we've heard out of him in the offseason and everything that he can do and the potential. And just looking at him in person, when I was in person at fall camp, like, he looks the part. Now, can he make that jump from, okay, he was good at Buffalo for 3 seasons. He was great at New Mexico State for a season, and they won like 3 games, though. And now can he continue to be great at the SEC level? And I think he will be good. And I think that out of all the offensive weapons, I think he'll be that guy that makes the biggest impact, Mike Washington Jr. On the defensive side of the ball, I think it's Kenai Walker. Kenai Walker, yeah. Defensive back, 3-star transfer from Oklahoma. He started most of the games last year at OU. And when I did my defensive preview last week, I talked about this. And I know or 2 weeks ago, whenever that was, I know there's some bias behind me picking and thinking that Walker's going to be a really good defensive back. Really good might be a stretch. I know there's some bias behind it because he played for Oklahoma. And I know Oklahoma wasn't great last season, but they're a really good college football program. And for him to start most of the games last year, that tells me that he's going to be a good defensive back. So now he comes to Arkansas with SEC experience, not just like you didn't get some scrub third stringer to play for your team. You got a starter. You got a starter on your team, and I think he's going to make an impact. I think he's going to have some interceptions. I think he's going to have some big plays. And hopefully that's true playing the defensive back position. Hopefully the DBs as a whole will be better. There's a lot of question marks. They got size, but can they be better this season? Can the D-line get pass rush? I can talk about this defense all day because there's just so many unknowns. The offense I know is going to be great. The defense, if they are good, Arkansas is going to be amazing. If they are bad, Arkansas is going to be okay. If there's just a lot of question marks that are still to be answered with this Arkansas defense. But those are the kind of the transfer portal additions that will make the biggest impact. All right, the last question that we have time for, unfortunately, we don't have time to get to all of the questions that were sent in, but the last one is a bit of a longer one, again from my good friend Adams. What does Pittman have to do to save his job this year? Which is just funny that we're asking this. Like, if you have to ask at the beginning of the season, like, what do you have to do to save your job? Then you're not a good coach, right? But this is just a fan sending us a question. All right, what does Pittman have to do to save his job, and in particular milestones that you believe could be the difference between him and a different coach being with the Hogs next season? I think milestones. I think you win the trophy games, right? In 2021, his best season when Arkansas won 9 games, he won a lot of those trophy games. He won Texas A&M, he won LSU, didn't they beat Missouri that year too? I feel like they did. They won 9 games, so they probably beat Missouri, even though it's kind of crazy to think about because I can't really remember many great wins against Missouri. But I guess in 2021 they did. I don't know. And then they also won the Outback Bowl. Now that's we'll get to that later in bowl projections, but milestones to accomplish, the stats don't matter. I don't care if Taylor Green is, friggin' dark horse Heisman. Arkansas could still go 5-7, could still go 6-6. And maybe not with the dark horse Heisman, but maybe, right? I don't care if the players are exceptional. I don't care if you get 10 guys picked in the NFL draft. If you don't win games that matter, you're not going to stay on as the head coach of the Razorbacks. That's just how it is. So you have to win the big games. You have to win the rivalry games. And notice I didn't throw in Texas, and it'd be nice to win Texas. I just think that this year might be kind of unattainable, right? Texas, I think, maybe my pick to win the national championship this season. They're one of the best teams in the country. You go to Austin to play that game, and they're going to be going crazy because that's a big rivalry game. I just think that's unattainable. LSU, Missouri, Texas A&M, I think those are attainable. And the other milestone, I think, is you win a game you're not supposed to win enough to where you rush the field. Because what saved Sam Pittman's job last year, it was that Tennessee game. It was winning against Tennessee when they came to your place. You striped out the stadium and you rushed the field. If they don't win that game, Arkansas goes 5-7. Sam Pittman's fired. He wins that game. There creates enough hype around the program for a little bit of time, enough excitement to last another year. So to save his job would be to win against Texas A&M, when Texas A&M might be undefeated or might just have one loss. Will be a top 25 team, a game that should be a 6:30 p.m. kickoff game. Should be a night game. Should be the first home night game. And if Arkansas can beat Texas A&M, they do their little, all right, warning, we're going to wait to rush the field for a few minutes, and then they rush the field so they don't get fined, right? If that happens, Sam Pittman's job is safe, right? I think wherever you're at in the season, unless they were to not make a bowl game, then that doesn't matter. But if you win 6 games, you win a big game you're not supposed to, I think that's a milestone that can keep Sam Pittman for another year. It's winning those big games. All right, well, those are some of the questions that you guys sent in. Thank you. Thanks to my friend Adam, Caden especially. Thanks to Antonio for submitting questions that I could answer on this week's show. That's going to be all the college football talk we've got for right now. Let's talk about high school. High school games to watch for this upcoming week, the first week of the Friday Night Blitz, Friday night at 10:10 right here on THV11 and THV11 Plus. It's going to be fun. It's Salt Bowl week, as it always is. It's week 0 of high school football, but it's the first week of high school football. It's confusing. Don't ask too many questions. It'll be okay. Bryant and Benton. Bryant's won this game like every year for a long time. They're a team that has won the 7A state title for 4 of the last 5 years. They got a really good defense coming back. And Benton is also a really good team. Can they pull the upset like they were close to last year? Can Drew Davis, the quarterback who was exceptional last year as a junior, be even better this year to upset Bryant? Those are some of the storylines to look out for in the Salt Bowl. We also got Lakeside and Lake Hamilton. The last 7 years, the Wolves have won 5 of the 7, but the Rams, Lakeside, have won it the last 2 years. Pulaski Academy at Robinson, they've beaten the Senators 5 years in a row. Can Robinson close that gap? They were close last year. Can they get it done this year at their place with a new head coach? Whitehall and Sheridan, another good rivalry game in week 0. Whitehall, apparently they've got a quarterback that is worthy of comparisons to Austin and Brandon Allen. How does that compete with year 2 of Kevin Kelly and Sheridan, with playmakers like Dax McMillan for his senior year, Zay Stevens for his junior year? That offense is going to be really fun to watch this year in the 6A. And then lastly, there's a lot of games, but just a couple to know. Camden Fairview and Arkadelphia, the Badgers, the defending state champs, trying to take down 5A South Camden Fairview, something they couldn't do last year. And after all those games, the Razorback game the next day, Arkansas, Alabama A&M. That game is Saturday, 3:15 on the SEC Network. I will be there live from Razorback Stadium to break it all down for you on our first Hog Zone of the season. That is Saturday night at 10:10. I'm really looking forward to that. It's been a fun episode of Luttie's Look Back. Thank you so much for people who submitted questions. Thank you those who have watched and supported over the few months that I've been able to do this show. It's been really exciting. We're entering a new chapter. Football season starting for the Razorbacks, for the Red Wolves, for the Bears, for the Golden Lions, for the Bison, for all our high school teams. It's going to be really exciting. We'll break down everything that you missed this weekend on next week's show of Luttie's Look Back. We'll see you then.